How do you know at the end of the day, hey, we're getting that engagement that we want. We're getting that response that we want. This is working. How do you measure that?
Yeah, I mean, there are a variety of ways that we do measure that. I mean, certainly we hear from some people, from some of our residents who say, "Hey, that's great. Thank you. That's helpful." We do get a lot of emails, in particular in response to things that may appear in the newsletters or on Channel 22 and saying thanks. More often than not, though, people aren't going to take the time to say, "Hey, thanks. I enjoyed that." They're just, going to go about their business. If they don't like something, we'll hear about it. So,
I've
yeah.
had that conversation before with someone. It was like people are quite vocal about what they don't appreciate, but it's like the example I gave was you go to a grocery store and the bagger is very pleasant and nice to you, and you go about your day and you don't even think about it because that's normal, that's expected. But if they're rude to you, now you're telling everybody. So just there's something about it's like this doesn't fit right into my life. I need to tell people.
Absolutely. I one of my first jobs was working in retail at this store called Service Merchandise. You probably don't remember that, but they did used to be in the South too. But I remember one of the things that we were told then, and I was still young, I was still in school then, is that it only takes one angry customer to turn off 10 other customers, because once they share that story, there's probably 10 people who aren't going to, visit your establishment because, they've heard the story, and whether it's true or not, or accurate or not, they've already made their minds up that it's just not worth their time. So
Yeah.
I always remember that because we have to, in some ways, this organization is very customer service oriented. It's in our mission statement. So I remember that every time we're putting some of these things together is that, we do have to pay attention to the things that are going to upset people, because if we don't address that, then we're going to have a bigger problem on our hands,
Hmm.
because those kinds of things, whether it's on social media or elsewhere, are going to take on a life of their own. And once people start running with information that is suddenly becomes misinformation, it can become this untamable beast.
Well, what happens is I think there's an erosion of some of the trust, right?
Absolutely.
So if you're, hey, we don't want to talk about that because that could be bad, right? Now you're hiding things, you're
Yeah.
creating that bias
Yeah.
that we were talking about earlier, and people's ability to trust you as a source diminishes. And so now people are looking for, well, I know I can't trust them. I got to find it somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's, you get into those, well, this other person says this is going on, and I guess I kind of trust them regardless of how true or false it is. It could be 100% true, it could be 100% false, it doesn't matter, but your trust is evaporated, it's gone now, so people have to find it somewhere else.
And as a governmental entity, if you lose that trust, it can be not only detrimental, it can be, it can be destructive.
Mm, yeah.
Because for a governmental organization, that's really, without trust, you've got nothing.
Yeah.
And this is at a time when there's a lot of mistrust in government, so we are functioning in a time when there's been a real campaign to try and sort of diminish the role of government, whether it's at the local, state, or federal level, and what it is supposed to do. So we know what our mission is, but it's very, very important that we continue that we retain the trust of the people that we serve, because at the end of the day, those are the people who pay our bills,
Yeah.
the taxpayers, and those are the people who we answer to. So we work very hard to make sure that we do everything we can to be a trusted organization, which is in our mission statement. And
Hmm.
we make sure that that is sort of above everything else, what we strive for. And it can be tough when we talk about bias. I mean, some people are already starting that conversation with a bias against local government, for
Yeah.
instance, and what its role is or what it does.
Yeah.
So.